Hey everybody! I'm jumping on just a couple of minutes early. Actually, it's only 1 minute early. I'm gonna check and see if I can get everything rolling so that at 7 o'clock, top of the hour, we can jump in. But it's awesome to have you. Welcome. Thanks for being part of something so amazing and joy-filled for me. And I know that it's valuable for you because you tell me it is, which is awesome. I love the feedback. So, all right, you guys. Hello, everybody. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere. I am live and loving it. And if you don't mind, I'm going to do that one more time. And remember to hit record for the audio. Hello, everybody. It's going to go. Hello, everybody! Yes, it's me, Shannon LaBruyere. I am live and loving it tonight. Welcome to Sunday Night Live. I see some of you are already jumping on, checking in to see how my afternoon was, and it was amazing. It was restful and beautiful and peaceful here in the Northern Hemisphere. We are in late spring, getting ready to move into summer. And today in the beautiful state of Michigan, it was pretty much the best kind of day you're ever going to get. So the weather is always, when the weather's nice, it's always helpful, right? I don't know if you're impacted by the weather at all, but I certainly am. For those of you who are new, I want to welcome you to Sunday Night Live, where we talk about principles that help us to thrive in change. All change. The change we wanted and the change we didn't want. The change that we planned and maybe took us by surprise. That takes some adjustment even when we've planned it. Or the changes that we didn't invite, that we didn't want. I'm here to tell you that you can thrive in all change. And tonight we are going to take a little bit of a deep dive into what that looks like. What does it look like to thrive? I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Ted the dog is hanging out with me. He's waiting for his dad to come back from up north. And I am absolutely Ted's second favorite person. I'm his second favorite human. And any car now that drives by, he is convinced it's got to be his dad, and he's going to go make sure everybody knows. And just between you and me, that wasn't his dad. So we're probably going to hear it again. I wish he was better behaved. I totally blame my husband for this. Totally blame him. So if you have not yet said hello, I would love for you to drop something in the comments. Say hi. Let me know that you're here. Give a little wave. Tell me where you're watching from. Something that lets us know that you are leaning in because you want to thrive. You are going to learn something great today, and I cannot wait to share it with you. But first, I have exciting news. I have exciting news. So this is it. Many of you know that I love thumb roast coffee. I love thumb roast coffee. It's fresh, it's clean, it's local, it's locally roasted right here in Michigan's thumb. So the geography of Michigan is such that we can point, probably should do it, I don't know which way you guys are seeing me, but thumb roast coffee is in Michigan's thumb, not too far from me, and it is absolutely delicious. My favorite is Blue Lake Dark, but sometimes my favorite is Sanilac Sunrise. And I am giving myself permission to have two favorites. But here's the great news. Thumb Roast Coffee is sponsoring Sunday Night Live and the Thrive and Change podcast. Yay! So two great things happening there. First of all, I just feel like I'm really legit now. I have a sponsor, somebody that I can share with my listeners and my viewers that I can recommend, and they can experience the delicious coffee that I get to drink every day. And the other piece of that that's so good is Thumb Roast Coffee is offering you a 15% discount on anything you order, any coffee you order. And all you have to do is go to their website, and you can actually order their delicious coffee online. It comes to you in the mail. I receive mine like that often, and it is wonderful. It smells so good in the mailbox. So here's what you need to do to get your 15% off discount on Thumb Roast Coffee. Go to their website, thumbroastcoffee.com, and I'll post that link in the comments and when I'm done today. It'll also be in the show notes of the Thrive and Change podcast. And all you have to do is go to thumbroastcoffee.com and use the keyword, coupon code, whatever you want to call it, Thrive. THRIVE, like Thrive and Change, right? Use the code Thrive and you'll get 15% off. So welcome to Thumb Roast Coffee. We are so glad that you are sponsoring Sunday Night Live and Thrive and Change podcast. So awesome. I encourage you to visit them, thumbroastcoffee.com. All right, so let's jump into today's topic, and we are talking about fertilizer. We got any farmers in the group? Raise your hands, comment, and let me know if you are a farmer. I want to hear from you because you know exactly what I'm talking about. For many years, for 27 years, my husband and I lived in a rural area. We did not have a farm, but we lived very close to many farms. We had just an acre, and I didn't even try to grow a garden, I'll be honest. I don't have a green thumb, but I did grow flowers. And we really enjoyed the beautiful, beautiful scenery as those farmers' fields started to just populate with beautiful plants, and the corn would come up, and the hay would come up, and the soybeans. Lots of great stuff, but I'm going to tell you what I didn't like. I worked for many years on the afternoon shift when I lifted heavy things and wore steel-toed boots to work every day. And when I drove home in the evenings, what I smelled during certain times of the year was not pleasant. The farmers would fertilize their fields with manure, and it smelled bad. It smelled so bad, and I hated it. I hated the smell. I didn't love it. Anybody with me? Do you love the smell of manure? We lived down the street when I was growing up from a mushroom farm. People, do you know what they grow mushrooms in? It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. Let me just say. So, fertilizer, a lot of times, doesn't smell great. It's not fun to deal with, but it does a lot of good, right? It does a lot of good for what we are trying to grow. So we're going to talk tonight about fertilizer. How have you been fertilized for the last few months? What kind of fertilizer has been dropping into your farmer's field? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with it? So tonight our topic, hashtag for our Thrive principle is hashtag find the beauty. Hashtag find the beauty. So I'm going to ask you if you're still with me. Type a little something in the comments. Maybe put hashtag find the beauty. That would be awesome. Let me know if you're a farmer, if you've got any experience with that. I'd love to know a little bit about fertilizer, actually. I think it's kind of fascinating. But from a growth perspective, fertilizer is just as important for our mental growth, our human growth, as it is for our plants and our fields. It's just as important. We might not love it, but it's important. So I want to remind you of the definition, my definition, of what it means to thrive in change. What it means to thrive in change is this. Our roots can be nourished even when our flowers aren't in bloom. When we're going through the different seasons of life, our roots can still be nourished even when our flowers are nowhere in sight. We've got no green leaves on our branches. It might look like a barren wasteland from the ground up because of the changes that we've been going through. But when we are thriving, that season can feed our roots and help us to sink them deep and help us to establish ourselves, and we can thrive even when it doesn't look like it from the ground up. Our roots can still be nourished. And so when you think about fertilizer, right? That's what it's there to do, is to nourish our roots. So since about March here in the United States, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later for those of you in other countries. I know I have listeners in Sweden and in the United Kingdom, in Barbados. I'm not sure what your timelines look like, but for us here in the United States, the fertilizer hit the fan around the 1st of March. And from the 1st of March until right about now, we've all been in this process of being fertilized. A lot of stuff happening in our worlds, right? That we didn't ask for, that we didn't plan. And a lot of it feels like it's actually killing what's above ground. And I'm here to tell you, some of it is. Some of it is damaging, killing off the stuff that was above ground, and new things are going to rise up in its place. And I want you to know it's up to us if those things are good or bad. We get to decide. We get to decide what stays and what goes. So thinking about this fertilizer, I grew geraniums last year for the first time, and geraniums and I hit it off great. We were like buds, best buds. The geraniums and I had a great relationship, and it was because of this. I fertilized those geraniums faithfully every Tuesday morning. Rain or shine, I was out there fertilizing those planter pots, and they loved it. The extra attention that I gave them paid off so wonderfully because those plants looked amazing. And they had beautiful blooms, beautiful greenery. They were amazing. But this is what started to happen after a while. As I fertilized those geraniums, new blooms would pop up, and the old ones were still there. If you're a gardener, you're with me. The old ones were still there. And I had to go to the internet and do a little research to find out, what do I do? What do I do with the dead ones? And it turns out you get rid of it. You get rid of those dead blooms. You get rid of those dead leaves, the things that aren't thriving. You pinch them off. Because when you do that, you send a message to the rest of the plant. Ooh, there's room for the good stuff. There's room for the good stuff. So now, as we've come through these months of COVID and then civil unrest, causing us all to look within and see, what do I need to do to change? What do I need to do to align my actions with what I believe to be true, my higher purpose? What do I need to do to be a better person? All of that stuff means we're going to go in and we're going to get rid of some of that dead stuff. We're going to clear it out. Take a look back. Go all the way back to January if you want, but certainly when the pandemic first started to roll out across the globe. Since that time, when you look back, what do you see that's dead, that doesn't serve you well anymore? I'm going to tell you what I've discovered as I looked back. Automatically, there were some things that I was unable to do in my business. I was unable to do public speaking. I could not go live to places and give my speech like I usually do. I couldn't go and deliver my talks or deliver my training live. And I missed that, and I was sad. But as I look back over the past few months, I realized that some of my activities, some of the speeches I gave, some of the groups that I visited, I wasn't adding a whole lot of value to them, and it wasn't in my strength zone. The things I was sharing weren't things that I love to do, that I get energized by doing. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to put those things back into my business. Some of those products, if you will, or services that I offered, they're wonderful, but they don't inspire me. And so I'm looking at those things as being a little bit dry and dead. And maybe it's time to snip those off, prune my business and my activities, clip, 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 just a little, so that the things that I'm great at, the things that I love, the things that I feel like I've been called to do, have room to blossom. Does that make sense? All of this fertilizer that's been dumped into our lives over the past few months, if it's really going to have great effect, we are going to have to prune our lives. And that doesn't always sound fun. But I promise you, if you take a look, you are going to see, yeah, you know what? I didn't love doing that, and I don't feel like picking it back up. You don't have to. You don't have to. If you didn't love it, if it didn't accomplish what you wanted it to accomplish, if it didn't help you towards your mission or your goal, you don't have to pick that up. You can choose a new normal. We spend so much time trading off what we'd really love to do and keeping the familiar and the same old, same old. But now, with everything being new, that's not a trade-off anymore. Just about anything you choose to do from here on out is going to look different than it did a few months ago before the pandemic hit. So now's the time. Take a look at your life and say, all right, my roots have gotten a lot of nourishment. What am I going to prune out of my life so that I can leave room for the new stuff to grow, so that I can leave room for the good fruit, the flowers, the wonderful stuff that I'm actually wanting to see happen in my life. We cannot hold on to everything. We just can't. When we hold on to everything, something's falling. Something's dying. And it might be the thing that is the most important. So we get to decide. So, number one, the thing we have to do with all this fertilizer coming into our life is prune the old to make way for the new. What used to work may not work now. It's okay to set it aside and pick up something new. If you're hearing me, give me a thumbs up or a smiley or a heart. If you're thinking about things in your life that you know you could prune, let us know. Give us a thumbs up. If you're hearing it, lean in. Allow yourself to embrace the idea that you might have to prune some old things to make room for the new. Here's a great place to look. What are you dreading picking back up? What are you dreading going back to? As life starts to get back to normal, what are you looking at and saying, oh, I hate that? I had to smile because one of our faithful Sunday Night Live listeners, Lisa, went back to work. I think it was this past week, might have been the week before, but she went back to work. And she said, I'm so excited. I can't wait to go back. It's going to be so good. That just warmed my heart to hear it. Yes, wonderful. If it sounds great, if it stirs you, if you're excited about it, that's wonderful. And if you're not, that's a sign that there might be something you can prune. And you get to decide what good things grow up in its place. Because there's no doubt lots of fertilizer has fallen. So if you want to make the most of it, you've got to prune some of the old. The second thing is, once you've pruned out the old, you have to look for the growth. You have to be on the lookout for it. There are things in your life, good things and bad, I'm guessing. Hello, people like me who had a box of Junior Mints and 2 mini bags of Cheetos for dinner. This is a bad habit, people. This is something I need to prune out of my life. This is something that has sprung up with all the fertilizer. Not all of the growth is productive. Some of it's weeds. You need to take a look at what the new things that are springing up. You prune away the old, the things that don't serve you anymore, and you look at the new things that have sprung up while all this fertilizer was being laid down. Right? How many know Cheetos and Junior Mints are not a healthy dinner? They're just not. I've got to stop that. I don't want that to be the thing that springs up in the void after I've pruned out the old. I don't want it to be bad habits. You need to do the same. Take a look and see, okay, what's some of the stuff that's growing up here in my life that I know I don't want anymore, that I know I don't need, and you can nip it in the bud. That's where that phrase comes from, nip it in the bud. Before it gets a chance to take hold, nip it in the bud. What are some of the habits? Maybe we're not even just talking about physical habits here. What kind of thinking have you developed over the last few months? Does it serve you? Is it growth oriented? Is it aligned with what you know your good is that you want to do in the world? If it is, keep it. And if it's not, get rid of it. Nip it in the bud. Those thought processes that sometimes weigh us down, I'm not even going to say them. I'm not going to read your I'm not going to read your negative mail. But those thoughts that don't serve us well, we don't have to hold on to them. But you need to nip them in the bud. So now's the time. Are you with me? All right. So all this fertilizer that smelled bad and it's been awful and we've tolerated a lot, it's not been easy. Let's not waste it. We want that fertilizer to nourish our roots. So we are going to prune the old dead stuff out of our lives to make room for the new growth. Then we're going to watch the new growth. We're going to make sure that we keep the things that are good and feed those things. And we're going to nip the habits that don't serve us well in the bud. We are going to step away from those. We can do it. We can do it when we are intentional about it. All right? And the third thing is this. The third thing that I want you to do in the midst of all this fertilizing, in the midst of all of this new and upheaval, I want you to encourage somebody. I want you to encourage somebody that's struggling. I want you to encourage somebody that got started and then stalled out. I want you to find somebody, link arms with them and say, I am here for you. We are going to do this together. Find somebody who got a lot of fertilizer dumped on them and they may not realize that they don't have to waste it. They might not realize that. So how can you do that? First of all, you can share with them what you're learning here on Sunday Night Live. You can share with them hashtag find the beauty. You can share with them what you're learning, what your takeaways are. You can also point them in my direction and absolutely share a link with them or hook them up with the Thrive and Change podcast. You can do that as well. But the most influential thing you can do is share what you're learning and help them to see it too. You know what's helped me? Fill in the blank. You know what's helped me? Understanding that all this junk that we've been going through has been like a whole big dump truck full of fertilizer, and I'm going to make the most of it because I know something good is coming from it. When you share that with somebody else, the hope that ignites in them is unbelievable. And you have just helped somebody else thrive and change. None of us are in this alone. We need to have each other. We need to be supporting each other, encouraging each other, helping each other. You can be that person for somebody that you see in your life who's had a lot of fertilizer dumped and they aren't doing anything with it. They may not receive what you have to say. And if not, that's okay. You can move on. But find somebody to encourage. Let them know that there is new growth happening. If you see something good springing up in them, let them know. Let them know. I saw you during this COVID crisis. I saw you taking care of your kids, leaning in, making sure that they got homeschooled. And I was proud of you. When you say that to somebody, you feed their roots. You help turn just a big pile of crap into fertilizer. Gets down into the ground. It can feed their roots because you are helping cultivate that soil, helping them to realize that there was some good. And you can do that by encouraging them. So those are the three things. A lot of fertilizing happening. A lot of fertilizing happening. But our roots are getting really strong, and now's the time for us to start seeing the growth that happens from all of that fertilizer. Prune out the old, cut it away, set it aside, put it on temporary hiatus and say, I'm going to revisit doing that in 3 months or 6 months. See what happens. Give yourself permission to set aside the old so that something new can get a little air to breathe, so the blossoms can start to unfurl. Make sure that the things that are growing up in all that fertile soil are things that serve you well, that help you to get closer to your goal of accomplishing the positive change you want to see happen in your world. And then make sure that you are encouraging somebody else that maybe doesn't understand or hasn't seen the good that's come to them through all of that fertilizer. And you can, in a respectful, genuine way, help connect them with that and get them started on a path of growth and joy. Just a few words from you. So with that, I want to thank you so much for being part of Sunday Night Live, for being part of the Thrive and Change family. I'm going to post that link to Thumb Roast Coffee. I encourage you, if you love podcasts, follow the Thrive and Change podcast, because it is an easy way to keep caught up on all of the Sunday Night Live stuff, all of the great principles we talk about. With that, my friends, mwah, I love you. God bless you. Have a great evening, and I will see you soon. Bye.